Hello all, Mike here, and today we're going to talk about whether or not incentivization or punishment work for motivating you to develop a habit. Now, incentivization, of course, is a reward, like the carrot and the stick is what we're talking about, basically, right? So a reward that is tangible or something that you can feel that's beneficial to you, or punishment, meaning something you want to get away from or not have, time out or no video games or whatever it happens to be. So when you're developing a habit, you need motivation. That's the second pillar, right? So you first need a cue and then you need motivation. And motivation, we've talked about, is a belief that you have that you can do something times the desire that you have to do it. So in the beginning, your desire has to be high because you don't really have a belief that you can do it. But once you've done it a bunch of times, then your belief goes up, and coincidentally, your desire actually goes down to actually do it. And this is, you see this all the time with new experiences. You're thrilled to do the new experience, whether it's, a new restaurant you've never been to, or a sport activity you've never tried, and it's a place you've never been to. These are all great things that you really want to desire to do, but you don't know if you can actually accomplish the thing or whatever. First time experience, desire is high. But if you go there or you do the thing regularly, then your desire or enthusiasm for the action goes down, but you can do it easily. So you may not see a tapering off of how many times you do it, because your belief that you can do it goes up and your desire comes down. So it still balances out with enough motivation to do it. So we talked about that before, but when we talk about desire, we have only discussed what we want out of the action, right? So your motivation is to do this action so you can get a reward. And the thing about desire is that there's two flavors of desire. There's the moving away from, and they're moving towards desire. So moving away from is obviously punishment. You want to move away from something that's bad, and that's a desire. That's a motivating force, right? And so the other one is moving towards. So you're going to move towards something that you want, and that is the carrot or the incentive to do the thing. So now, to keep that in mind, we've got two flavors, right? We've got incentives and we've got punishments. And the studies show that actually both will motivate. Depending on who and the type of personality you have, the experience you've had, some work more than others. People will be more motivated to avoid punishment, and some will be more motivated to go towards the thing they want, or incentives. So when we talk about rewards, when sometimes the reward is to not be something, or not get somewhere, or not do something. So when we think about that, when we think about developing a habit, we have two types of things we can think about. One, what thing do we want, which is good, and what do we not want, right? And if we get both those in line, then you're much more motivated to do it because you've got both flavors of desire working for you. So let's talk about when you are developing your own habit. You're not going to punish yourself, right? That's a bit of a problem. You say, okay, so I'm going to go for a run after work every day. And if I don't go for a run after work every day, I won't watch any TV after I'm done my run. Well, what's the likelihood that that's actually going to happen? right? You know, it might happen a few times, but you know, your wife or your spouse or your partner will say, hey, come and watch a show with me, and you say, no, I didn't go for a run. And they say, so what? You know, we end up with either an argument or you watch the show, right? So the point is that you're not going to punish yourself. It's just not going to happen, at least not reliably. So instead of relying on yourself, punishing yourself for not doing something, it's just like the reward we talked about before. If you have a reward that is intrinsically attached to the action, then you're much more motivated to do the action and you can't get around it. You know, I'm going to go for a run, and if I do run this fast, then I'm going to eat a bowl of ice cream. That is ridiculous, because by the time you're finished your run, you know, if that's the motivator, is the ice cream, then eventually your brain is going to say, hey, I don't have to run to get the ice cream. And it's going to take the shortcut, and you're going to end up, well, you know, I'll run twice as far tomorrow or whatever. So forget that. Always consider your action having the action being the thing that's going to get you your reward, not something that you're going to add on to the action. So if we're talking about exercise, then you're going to be, after a run, you feel good. You have the endorphins, you have the feeling of accomplishing something, you've timed yourself, and you find that you're getting faster overall. These are all benefits, right, that cannot be got from just, you know, unless you do the action, right? If you don't do the action, you can't get the reward. Well, what happens if you don't do the action? What's going to happen? Right? So let's think about that perspective when you're thinking about punishment. And so if you want to do an action all the time, what is the consequences of not doing the action? You think about that. And if you can think about it long enough and hard enough, you start to worry about it. Okay, and that's the key. If you can worry about it and take that those consequences as far down as you can go, then you can visualize it. Then when you go to do your action, you can say, okay, I'm going to get this, and I'm going to stay away from that. So let's use an example. It's a silly example, but it's an example anyway. So let's say you want to build the habit of hanging your keys on a hook by the door, or putting them in a jar or something. So that way you always know where your keys are when you get home, right? Or when you leave the house, your keys are on the hook or they're in the jar. Perfect. You never have to look for them. They're always there. What's the benefit of hanging them on the hook? Well, I mean, the reward could be you hear them clink on when you attach them to the hook, or you drop them into the bottom of the jar, and you can feel assured that they're where they're supposed to be. That's a good reward. It's intrinsically attached to the action. If you don't put it there, you don't hear the clink, and you don't see them in the bottom of the jar, right? It's not going to happen. So therefore, your desire is to start to hear that or see the hook, the keys on the hook or in the jar, right? It's a desire, right? It's not a very big desire, but you know, it's just there. Now you need a little bit more motivation. Let's think about what happens if you don't hang the key on the hook, or put it in the jar. Well, let's say you wake up one morning, you get late, and you rush around and you can't find your keys. So you can't find your keys, you look everywhere for your keys, you finally find your keys 15, 20 minutes later. You get to work 15, 20 minutes late. Your boss talks to you, say, hey, you know, you're late. What are you late for? You say, I couldn't find my keys. That's a ridiculous excuse for being late. Make sure you have your keys. You have an argument, and he fires you. Right? Okay, so now you're fired. Can't get any unemployment insurance of any kind, because they're not going to give you money if you quit. Or they're not going to give you money if you were fired. So if you're fired, that means you got to find another job. Can't find another job, now your bills are going through the roof, and you can't afford to pay your mortgage. So what do? You end up on the street because your house is repossessed and you're homeless. Right? That's ridiculous, of course. It's probably not going to happen. But if you, every time you walk into your house, you imagine yourself having that argument with your boss because you can't find your keys, well, that's another incentive, a going away from incentive to put your keys on the hook. And that will increase your motivation. And as your motivation increases, then your action, the action will happen more often. And then with that repetition and repetition, you end up with a habit. So there you go. Think about the desire being two-pronged, going towards and going away from. And if you think about that from both perspectives, then you're golden. All right, we'll talk to you soon.